Hi, I'm Blythe Stevens of A Blythe Coach, dance education and coaching to move through life with balance, grace, and power. Today, we're doing a yoga session that is a continuation of my yoga series on yoga for energy. I do also have a yoga sequence and recommended poses for sweet sleep. And the beginning of this Yoga for Energy series starts with some low to the ground yoga poses for energy balance. Then I did a standing yoga for energy, which is all standing on 1 or 2 feet, so it can be a hands-free practice. And this third installment to the series of Yoga for Energy focuses on arm balances. So whereas last practice was arms optional and really light intensity on the hands and wrists or no weight bearing in the upper body, today we're doing a focus of balancing on the arms to promote energy. In the book Anatomy for Arm Balances and Inversions, Roy Long shares that, quote, in our bipedal form, the hips and lower extremities are the weight-bearing construct. The more mobile shoulders and upper extremities allow us to interact with the world. In arm balances, we invert this construct, thereby strengthening the muscles, bones, and ligaments of the upper extremities. From an energetic perspective, arm balances stimulate the nerve plexuses associated with the fourth and fifth chakras. Practicing these poses with precision moves nerve impulses upwards towards the subtle body. This opens the way for the unimpeded flow of energy from the lower and more primordial regions of the sacral plexus to the higher functioning levels of the brain. In this way, arm balances invigorate and stimulate the mind. And certainly, I find that the thrill of attempting new balances is also very, very invigorating. There's just nothing quite like working to find a balance to really focus us in on the present moment and what's happening in the body. So we'll do a bit of a warm up for the full body and shoulders, and then take a couple of different arm balances before we wind down and relax. So please find your comfortable seat if you have not already, bringing your focus to that which supports you on the floor. So in this moment, we are still upright and balanced on our lower extremities. So on our 2 sit bones and on the knees or the thighs, forming a stable triangle of our weight falling straight down into the floor, grounding into the floor. From there, we will center ourselves over that base of support using our core muscles. We can do this with closed eyes, certainly. And then we'll get oriented in our space. We can focus the eyes to a point in front of us on the floor or close the eyes and bring our attention instead to the temperature of the air on the skin, the sounds we may hear in our environment, the room around us. We can take a couple of rolls of the shoulders forward, up, back, and down to release our shoulder blades onto the back. Let the arms hang in this position from the upper body. We'll certainly be activating these muscles, but we don't want excess tension and stress, just the right amount of engagement. And similarly, the neck will want to relax. Take a couple circles in one direction, slow and easy, and then reverse those circles. The next inhalation, we will exaggerate or embody that movement like a buoy or a float. The arms will float up on the rising tide of the breath. And then as it sinks and recedes, passes out through the nostrils again, we'll let the arms sink back down. Twice like that, inhaling, floating up. Your own pace is perfectly fine. It does not need to perfectly match the tempo or the speed at which I'm moving. However, on the next inhale, we'll bring the arms overhead one more time. And then move into a side bend. One hand, let's say the left hand comes down onto the floor, rooting through the right sit bone, reaching the right arm up long on the diagonal, extending through the right side body, and then pressing, reaching, floating back up through the center in order to sink to the other side. Rooting the left sit bone, reaching the left arm overhead. One more time like that to each side. And a twist through our long spine through the center. We'll rotate around that axis to the left, right hand to left thigh, gazing over the left shoulder into a gentle twist. Unwinding to inhale through the center and spiraling around our long right spine to right. Repeat, so no pressure to go too deep the first time. More exploratory twist. And with the second repetition, we can proceed perhaps a little deeper, even if it's a matter of centimeters or millimeters, engaging our core and wringing out our internal organs, giving them a little squeeze for circulation through all those areas. And then we'll float the hands right back down onto our thighs, grounding down as the head and heart float on top. And then we'll make our own way into all fours. So a tabletop position, finding the hands, the palms of the hands wide, just like our triangle. In our cross-legged position, here we have a triangle between the palm, heel of the hand by our wrist, our thumb, and our little finger. So the fingers are spread wide, the knees, the tops of the feet, the arches, and all of the toes connecting down into the floor. So we could actually flip floor position and sense the connection through our core and through our palms of our hands, our fingers, our backs of our feet, and our toes, and then float them back down. Wonderful. Let's warm up our lower back and core a bit more, sending the right foot back. We are pushing forward, back, over our hands, upper body, and of course, using the toes of the fulcrum in the back, stretching the lower leg and underside of the toes. But also, we'll notice perhaps that as we shift a little bit more work and tension in the front of the shoulders and the arms is felt, maybe the chest. In the central position here, then as we shift back behind the wrists, back behind the hands, again we feel some activity or some tension in the shoulders. That may feel a bit easier than when we shift forward or back. So we're feeling the differences of attachment in the shoulder and upper body as we move through that shape. And then stack right up and down, float right leg up. Maybe we want to circle that foot. Turn the toes down towards the floor, draw the knee to the nose, and exhale. connecting through both hands and the left foot. We reach long, 2, and twice more. To draw into a tiny ball. Inhaling, extend long. Exhaling, shrinking. Inhaling, growing. Then step the right foot right forward next to the right hand. And we'll come up to our starting position for our lunge. Right thigh bone back into the socket. Plug into the ball. And left thigh bone drawing into the pelvis, squaring us up. And then we'll sink into a low lunge, opening up the body, exultant through the heart. Sinking the hips back, the hands can come right and left. Just but yes, so we're massaging the hips and the lower back and the thighs as we sink again. Asana. Here we can circle the arms, both or one and the other. From our stable lower body, we're enjoying some freedom in the upper body. And then sink back into our runner's lunge. If you want to go further and that feels all right, that's cool too. We can one leg extended forward. And then last time through our Asana. And back. And we'll walk our way back or forward next to the right foot and turn that leg to all fours. Right crown of the head, through the tail, through the sit bones. And returning the favor to the left, sitting the left foot back, shifting forward and back. What's happening in the body, as we pulse back, as well as what's happening in our body and foot. Then that left leg up, parallel to the ground, working to keep equal weight or equal support on both arms. Down, circling them if you like. So careful here, my tendency is to bring the head and leg up a bit, but here we're really looking to just create length parallel in between our small ball. So bring the knee forward with the exhale, very small, and inhale just to lengthen. Yeah. Exhale. Small inhale. Getting in all directions, forward and back, up and down, right and left. Last one. Stoking the fire within, perhaps with generated by this warmup. If so, good. Then step forward next to the left hand. And we'll check in on this side as well, plugging the left thigh in the pelvis. Right thigh does the same. Magnetically in our imagery, in our mind, we're thinking about that magnetic drawing in, planting the left sole of the foot and the right top of the foot into the ground, and then Asana. Sinking back, lunge. Rippling up and forward, like a wave on the next inhale. Add your circles. And exhale. Calmly sink back. And one more Asana lunge, like a crescent moon in the night. And sinking back into our forward fold. And then walk either through Anjaneyasana or directly to all fours. Yes. Returning to all. Okay, you can also repeat that sequence or a similar type of sequence in a downward dog. Let's do to show what that looks like, and we'll do a little shoulder stretch and then get into our arm balances as mentioned. We'll shift our weight back towards the heels and then send the palm into a downward dog. Walking your feet right and left, twisting through the hips, sort of doing your dance into downward dog. Turn the leg in a little bit, out a little bit. Bring our attention to how the weight is falling into the hands. Press the floor away, palm of the hand, and then shifting back with lots of length in the lower back, so that they start connecting with the floor. Bring the floor up to you using some blocks. If that makes downward dog a more accessible position, it's for me and it helps me get my downward dog established in the first place over the course of years. This is a great place. Thinking about up and away from each other on long diagonals. In. Already, we are using the strength of the upper body to balance. Our heart is over our head, which maybe we're shaking the head, no, and yes, relax the neck. And noticing the sensations of our downward dog. Keeping the blocks there, or you can remove them. We're going to send the right and draw the knee directly forward towards the nose into sort of a high plank. So you can keep that mentioned. So into this three-legged plank, nose to knee. Okay, second one, three-legged. I'm going to rotate in the hip in one direction. So I'm going to go from in to out and around. And then send up one more time, two more. And I cross that right knee over towards the left elbow or armpit. We have a twist. It's going to prepare us for what's back. The other way. A little hip massage and release. And then I'm out the elbow. Still equally on both arms if possible. But we're hovering here. And then step forward, rotate back flat, and this time our lunge, take the flavor of warrior one pose. Just pausing here, grounded on the legs again. And breathe, and then we'll raise back down. Rotate onto the back toes again. Step the right foot back. And either just meet in down dog or roll and lower through all fours or through a chaturanga. Down the belly. Just creating some warmth and some readiness in the whole body. Roll into cobra. Releasing back down. And then tuck the toes under or come back to all fours into downward dog. Pressing through the hands, bending the hips up and back. Locating away. And then we'll send the left leg up and back. Inhale into three-legged dog. Exhale, nose to knee. Slicing like a knife. Inhale, dog. Once or twice. Around. And cross it over, coming forward and left knee to right elbow. Stand back up with the next inhale. We'll change the direction of that hip circle. Inhale, exhaling. Bring the left knee to left elbow. And on back. And then step forward, roll flat, roll up to warrior one. If you want more of a standing practice, as I mentioned, you can go do the standing yoga for energy. Here we're just preparing ourselves to melt right back down. Rotate the back toes and flow through another vinyasa as you like. Okay, pausing in your downward dog, and then slowly floating the knees back into an all fours position. And we'll take a little shoulder opener and twist to round out our preparation, and then we'll enjoy our arm balances. Bringing the right hand off the ground, we'll wrap it around the left rib cage, twist the whole upper body to the right while keeping both legs planted. And 3 times we're going to thread the right arm and fingers through underneath the left. But then to inhale, peeling back up and open like a wing, spreading wide through the air. And then thread through again. And third time we pause at the bottom. Bear with me. You may also choose to bring the left hand overhead if that feels good. Just a variation or modification of the same pose. Then bring the left hand up, the left shoulder again. Fly it up and out. Replace. Find your neutral tabletop again in all fours. And this time the left hand comes up, wraps around the right ribs, opens this up into a twist. Bring neutral. Yeah. And then thread it through to the right 3 times. That's 1. 2. 3. Pause at the bottom. Let the temple or forehead rest onto the ground, the shoulder rest onto the ground. If it comes, the right hand applying a little bit more pressure to the floor to twist. Bringing our attention back to the breath if it wanders away. Then replacing the right hand under the shoulder and coming back out. Wonderful. You can rest in child's pose, either legs closed or open, palms together behind the head, keeping the elbows forward. Just for one more. And then meet me in a squat. Could be a yogi squat if you have access to that position with the heels down on the floor. Or if, like me, you have limitations to that pose. Mine is short Achilles tendons. We can also sit onto a block or bring the heels together like a frog. So the toes closer to the heels together. It makes a shape that looks like this. This is a yogi pose in its own right, but not one we're working on today. And it's just our departure point. So either in a squat or a froggy shape, we take our hands in front of us on the floor, shoulder distance apart, and we'll take that same rocking forward and back that we did with one knee down, now with both hands down. If you prefer, you can take your hands onto a block or two blocks, or you could also take your feet onto a block. For some, that's a nice starting position. Or onto two blocks, of course. That brings our hips up a bit more. Makes it a bit easier to shift forward, elbows. So you're already when we send our knees up towards the arms, rest on the upper arm and shift forward and back. And maybe that is your crow today. That's shifting forward and back is a wonderful balance and preparation. And then maybe we'll find we're gazing a little bit in front of the mat, planting the hands coming from the positional block or on the floor. We may take one foot off or both feet up into our crow. Take it gentle, listen to the body, but also playfully. We can go in the way a child attempts a handstand or a cartwheel or a crow. Just try it out in the mat. If you have fear about this, you can certainly put a pile of pillows in front of you at home and just fall onto the pillows if you need to. Take some of the fear out. Otherwise, we're going to play around that balance, keeping a soft bend in the elbows. No need to lock them out. Bring the knees up, connecting, of course, through our core strength. And then we find maybe a little bit longer balance, a little bit more steadiness and ease up there in this very energizing arm balance of crow. Try it one or two more times. And release. Stretch the legs out if you want. We can do a little shaky, shaky side to side. Release the lower back, hips, and belly that have been working. And then call it good. Or join me for one more advanced arm balance with a twist. You can continue to play with your crow or come on down to Shavasana or a twist already. Or my arm balance number 2 for the day is a side crow, or if you have been a break dancer at any point in your life, it is the way we get into a baby freeze as well. So this kneeling position has the legs together, and I'm going to plant my elbows into my upper thigh. So this pose is dependent on us having the range of motion to get into the twist. If that's not working out for you today, don't worry about it. Take it another time, practice another kind of a twist for today, and maybe try it out again in the future. But if you can, rotate your right elbow all the way over to the left hip, and then the left elbow plants into thigh. Then we have a nice point at which we can contact the floor with a hand. So that's the first step to our side crow, rocking in and out and in and out. And if we take it further, we plant the hand and then take one hand off or one foot off and the other foot off. In breakdancing, they do lower the tempo all the way down, or you could try that as well. And they also kick the legs out into all sorts of shapes. And then, of course, we'll come through the center and try the other side, locating the left elbow in the right hip and the right elbow into the thigh, rocking onto the palms, and return, palms, and return, and eventually, incrementally moving into a side balancing shape. Whew. Such great stuff. I hope you enjoyed those arm balance experimentations. There's certainly others that we will play with in the future, but for now, let's come on back to our seat. Stretch the legs in front of us, shake them out, elongate through the spine, let it release, bend the legs, come into a seated forward fold. Rolling up, taking the right arm, actually both arms up and the right arm to the outside of the leg, either with extended legs or with a bend for an easy twist here. Back through the center. Twisting the other direction with straight legs or bent. And then you can roll back and twist on the floor and come into a Shavasana, or come right back into our cross-legged position as we began with. Noticing any shifts in our perception of the body, our energy level, our focus. Allowing the breath now to flow at its own natural pace. Acknowledging ourselves for showing up for this practice, especially if arm balances are new, they can be quite daunting. It is definitely a exciting but challenging mental hurdle to start working on arm balances, but opens up a door to so many exciting things, a literal shift of perspective and also a physical shift that supports the functioning of our body. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this arm balance yoga for energy practice. Feel balanced, grounded, and also able to focus. If so, do like the video and let me know what you enjoyed down below, as well as what you'd like to see more of in the future. I'll see you next time.